The massive council chamber buzzed with angry voices from dozens of different alien species. Admiral Crix slammed his purple-scaled fist on the metal table, making the entire structure shake. His yellow eyes glowed with fury as he looked at the empty cages that lined the far wall. 3 hunting expeditions, he growled through his translator device. 3 of our best teams sent to planet Vorthak. 2 teams never came back. The 3rd team lost half their members and returned with nothing but stories of monsters too fierce to capture. Commander Zeta, a tall being with silver skin and 4 arms, nodded grimly. The shadow dragons are unlike anything we have encountered before. They move like liquid darkness across the red landscape. Our best weapons cannot pierce their scales. Our strongest nets burn to ash when they breathe their energy beams. The other delegates murmured their agreement. The Galactic Council had tried for 3 full cycles to capture just one of the legendary shadow dragons from the death world of Vorthak. Every species had contributed their finest hunters, their most advanced technology, their deadliest weapons. All had failed. Perhaps we should abandon this mission, suggested Dr. Vex, a small blue creature with tentacles instead of arms. The risk to our people is too great. These beasts cannot be tamed. No. Admiral Crix stood up, his 7-foot frame towering over the council table. The shadow dragons possess power beyond our understanding. If we could harness even one of these creatures, we could dominate entire star systems. The military applications alone would be worth any cost. On the viewing screen behind him, images of the previous expeditions played on repeat, massive black shapes moving through crimson mist, energy beams that could melt through starship armor, claws that could tear through titanium like paper. The dragons were perfect weapons of war, if only they could be controlled. What about the humans? Asked a voice from the back of the chamber. The room fell silent. All eyes turned to see who had spoken. It was Ambassador Thys, a reptilian being with green scales and wise old eyes. She rarely spoke in council meetings, but when she did, others listened. The humans have a saying, Thys continued. They catch more flies with honey than with vinegar. Perhaps our approach has been wrong. Admiral Crix laughed, a harsh sound that echoed through the chamber. Humans are weak creatures. They have no natural weapons, no thick skin, no poison glands. What could they possibly do that our greatest warriors could not? They have something else, Thys said quietly. They have the ability to make friends with other species. Look around this very council chamber. Half of our member species were once enemies of humanity, now they are allies. These are not thinking beings we are discussing, Commander Zeta interrupted. These are savage beasts that live in the volcanic wastes of a death world. They know only violence and hunger. Are we certain of that? Thys asked. Has anyone tried to communicate with them? Has anyone studied their behavior beyond how to kill or capture them? The chamber erupted in debate. Some delegates insisted that the dragons were nothing more than dangerous animals. Others wondered if Thys might have a point. In all their attempts to capture the creatures, they had focused only on force and technology. Admiral Crix raised his hand for silence. Even if your theory were correct, Ambassador Thys, what human would be foolish enough to attempt such a mission? The mortality rate for our expeditions has been 90%. I know someone who might try, Thys said. There is a human in the outer colonies, a young woman named Luna Martinez. She is part of a rare hybrid population, part human and part elf. These hybrids often have enhanced senses and unusual abilities that pure humans do not possess. What makes you think she would succeed where our best hunters have failed? Asked Dr. Vex. She has a reputation for making contact with dangerous species that others cannot approach. Last year, she helped negotiate peace between the flame bears of Epsilon 7 and the mining colony there. The year before that, she tamed a pack of storm wolves that had been terrorizing trade routes. Admiral Crix considered this information. The council was running out of options. Public opinion was turning against the dragon hunting missions. Too many good soldiers had been lost with nothing to show for it. Very well, he said finally. Contact this Luna Martinez. If she is willing to attempt this mission, the council will provide her with a ship and supplies. But she goes alone. We cannot risk any more of our people on this foolish venture. She may refuse, warned Commander Zeta. The mission is essentially suicide. Then we will have to offer her something she cannot refuse, Admiral Crix replied with a cold smile. Full citizenship in the Galactic Council, access to our most advanced medical facilities, and enough credits to buy her own planet. The vote was unanimous. Within hours, a message was sent to the outer colony where Luna Martinez lived. The offer was simple: succeed where the galaxy's greatest hunters had failed and become one of the richest and most powerful beings in known space. What they did not tell her was that they expected her to die trying, just like all the others who had gone before her. The shadow dragons of Vorthak had never shown mercy to any living creature that entered their territory. But Luna Martinez was different from the hunters who had come before. She would approach the dragons not with weapons and cages, but with something far more powerful: genuine curiosity and respect for creatures she had never met. Luna Martinez stood in the middle of her small garden, her pointed ears twitching as she heard the incoming message signal from her communication device. She wiped the dirt from her hands and walked to the small house she had built herself on, the edge of the colony. The message came from the Galactic Council itself, which was unusual. Luna rarely dealt with such important organizations. She preferred working with local problems, helping colonists and traders deal with dangerous wildlife that threatened their communities. She read the message twice to make sure she understood it correctly. The Council wanted her to travel to a planet called Vorthak and attempt to capture something called a shadow dragon. The reward they offered was more money than she had ever seen in her life. Interesting, she said to herself, activating her research computer. Within minutes, she had pulled up everything the galactic database contained about Vorthak and its dragon inhabitants. What she found made her frown. 3 major expeditions had been sent to this world. 2 had vanished completely. The third had lost most of its members and returned with horror stories about unstoppable monsters that could melt steel with their breath. But Luna saw something in the reports that the military commanders had missed. The dragons did not hunt the expedition. Members like prey animals would. They defended their territory, yes, but they did not pursue fleeing hunters beyond certain boundaries. They fought only when cornered or directly threatened. This suggested intelligence, not blind animal aggression. Luna walked outside and looked up at the stars. Her hybrid nature gave her better night vision than pure humans possessed, and she could see details in the distant lights that others could not. Somewhere out there was a world where magnificent creatures lived in isolation, probably wondering why strange beings kept arriving with weapons and hostile intentions. She made her decision and sent her reply to the Council that same night. 3 days later, Luna stood in the docking bay of Starbase Gamma, looking at the small scout ship that would carry her to Vorthak. It was fast and well-equipped, but also designed for a single occupant. The Council was not taking any chances on losing more personnel if this mission also failed. Captain Amy Chen, the base commander, approached her with obvious concern. "I have to ask, Miss Martinez, are you completely sure about this? The survival rate for missions to Vorthak has been 0%. Luna smiled and adjusted the straps on her backpack. "Those were military missions, Captain. They went there to capture and control. I'm going there to meet and hopefully make friends. With dragons that breathe energy beams and have claws like swords," Captain Chen said doubtfully. "With intelligent beings who have been defending their home from invaders," Luna corrected, gently. "There is a difference." Captain Chen handed her a datapad containing all available information about the planet and its inhabitants. "The Council has authorized me to give you any equipment you think you might need. Weapons, armor, capture devices, anything at all." Luna shook her head. "I will not be needing weapons or armor, just food, water, and basic camping supplies." "That is suicide," the captain said bluntly. "No," Luna replied. "Arriving on their world with weapons and hostile intentions is suicide. 3 expeditions have proven that approach does not work. Perhaps it is time to try something different." The ship's computer systems were already programmed with the coordinates for Vorthak. Luna settled into the pilot's seat and began the pre-flight checklist. The journey would take 4 days through hyperspace. During the trip, she studied everything: she could find about dragons from other worlds. Most species of dragon were highly intelligent, often more so than the beings who shared their planets. They were typically territorial, but not unnecessarily violent. They formed complex social structures and had their own languages and cultures. She also researched the planet itself. Vorthak was a harsh world with active volcanoes and extreme weather. The atmosphere was breathable for most species, but the surface temperature averaged well above what most beings found comfortable. It was the kind of world where only the strongest creatures could survive. On the fourth day, Luna's ship dropped out of hyperspace near Vorthak. The planet hung before her like a red jewel against the black of space. Even from orbit she could see the glow of lava flows and the dark clouds of volcanic ash that covered much of the surface. Her ship's sensors detected 3 large life forms in the northern continent, moving through what appeared to be a system of caves and canyons. These had to be the shadow dragons. Luna chose a landing site several miles away from the dragon's location. She did not want to appear threatening by landing too close to their territory. She would walk to meet them, showing that she came in peace. The ship touched down on a flat area of black rock between 2 smoking volcanic vents. The air outside was hot and heavy with the smell of sulfur, but her hybrid physiology allowed her to breathe without difficulty. Luna gathered her simple supplies into her backpack and stepped out onto the surface of Vorthak. The ground was warm beneath her feet and red steam rose from cracks in the rock. In the distance she could see jagged mountains reaching up into the crimson sky. She began walking toward the area where her sensors had detected the dragon life signs. With each step she felt both excitement and nervousness. She was about to meet creatures that had terrified the galaxy's greatest hunters. But Luna was not a hunter. She was a friend to dangerous creatures, and she had never met a being that could not be reasoned with if approached with respect and understanding. The shadow dragons were about to meet someone very different from the armed soldiers who had come before her. Luna walked across the harsh landscape of Vorthak for 2 hours before she saw her first shadow dragon. The creature was magnificent and terrifying at the same time. It stood 50 feet long from nose to tail, with scales so black they seemed to absorb the red light of the volcanic sky. The dragon noticed her immediately. Its massive head turned in her direction, and golden eyes the size of dinner plates studied her with obvious intelligence. Luna could feel the weight of its gaze as it tried to understand what this small creature was doing in its territory. Most beings would have run screaming. Luna sat down on a nearby rock and pulled out her lunch. "Hello there," she said calmly, unwrapping a sandwich she had brought from the ship. "I hope you do not mind me visiting your beautiful world." The dragon tilted its head, clearly surprised by this response. In its long life, it had encountered many strange beings who came to this world. They always carried weapons. They always showed fear or aggression. This small creature showed neither. Luna took a bite of her sandwich and looked around at the landscape. "This place is amazing," she continued in a conversational tone. "I have never seen volcanic formations like these. The way the steam creates patterns in the air is like natural art." A low rumbling sound came from the dragon's throat. It was not a growl of anger, but something closer to curiosity. The creature had expected this intruder to attack or flee. Instead, she was eating lunch and admiring the scenery. "My name is Luna," she said, offering a piece of her sandwich toward the dragon. "I come from a world very far from here. We have mountains there too, but nothing as dramatic as yours." The dragon lowered its massive head until it was only a few feet from Luna. She could feel the heat radiating from its body and smell something like cinnamon and metal on its breath. Up close, she could see that its scales were not purely black, but had tiny edges of deep purple that caught the light. The creature sniffed delicately at the offered food. Its nostrils were larger than Luna's entire head, but it was careful not to blow her away with its breathing. After a moment of consideration, it opened its mouth and allowed her to place the sandwich morsel on its tongue. Luna was amazed at how gently such a massive creature could move. Its teeth were like crystal spears, each one capable of cutting through metal, but it was careful not to even touch her hand as she fed it. "You are much more polite than the council report suggested," Luna said with a smile. "They described you as a mindless monster. but I can see intelligence in your eyes." The dragon made that rumbling sound again, louder this time. It almost sounded like laughter. It settled down on its belly, bringing its great head to Luna's eye level. This close she could see old scars on its scales, probably from fighting the previous expeditions that had come to capture it. "I am sorry others have tried to hurt you," Luna said softly. "That must have been frightening and confusing. They did not understand that you are a person, not an animal." The dragon's golden eyes widened at her words. It had never heard any off-world visitor speak of it as a thinking being before. They had all seen it as a prize to be won, or a threat to be eliminated. Luna finished her sandwich and pulled out a water bottle. The dragon watched with fascination as she drank. When she offered the bottle, it carefully took it in its massive jaws and drank the remaining water without crushing the container. "Would you like to show me around your home?" Luna asked. "I would love to learn more about how you live here." The dragon considered this request. No outsider had ever asked to see its territory before. They had all tried to force their way through, fighting and destroying as they went. This small being was different in every possible way. Slowly, the dragon stood and began walking toward a canyon entrance carved into the volcanic rock. It moved with surprising grace for such a large creature, its 6 powerful legs carrying it smoothly across the uneven ground. Luna followed, marveling at the dragon's natural elegance. As they walked, she noticed other signs of intelligence. The paths between rocks had been deliberately cleared of loose stones. Certain areas showed evidence of careful cultivation, where edible plants grew in organized patterns. "You are gardeners," Luna said with delight. "You grow your own food and maintain your territory. The council has no idea how advanced your civilization really is." The dragon made a pleased rumbling sound at her observation. It led her deeper into the canyon, where the walls provided shelter from the worst of the planetary weather. Here Luna saw more evidence of dragon intelligence. Carved symbols in the rock walls, areas that had been shaped for specific purposes, and what appeared to be artwork created by claws dragging through soft stone. After an hour of exploration, they emerged onto a high plateau that overlooked much of the northern continent. The view was breathtaking. Lava flows created rivers of light across the dark landscape, and the red sky was painted with patterns of volcanic ash and steam. But what amazed Luna most were the 2 other dragons that waited on the plateau. They had been watching her progress with their companion, and now they approached to meet this strange visitor for themselves. One dragon was smaller than the first, but more colorful, with scales that shifted between blue and green like ocean waves. The other was clearly ancient, with silver markings around its eyes and a presence that spoke of great wisdom and experience. "Your family," Luna said with wonder. "You wanted them to meet me." The first dragon rumbled agreement. It had brought her here not just to show off its territory, but to introduce her to the other members of its community. This was an honor that no previous visitor had received. Luna bowed respectfully to the 2 new dragons. "It is a privilege to meet you both. Thank you for welcoming me to your world." The ancient dragon stepped forward and studied Luna carefully with eyes that seemed to see into her very soul. After a long moment, it made a complex series of harmonic sounds that Luna's enhanced hearing could partially understand as communication. The first dragon responded with its own harmonics, clearly explaining how Luna had approached peacefully and shown respect for their way of life. The colorful dragon added its own voice to the conversation, and Luna realized she was witnessing a sophisticated discussion about her presence and intentions. When they finished their conference, all 3 dragons turned to look at her expectantly. The ancient dragon with silver markings stepped closer to Luna. Its massive form cast a shadow over her small figure, but she felt no fear. There was something in the creature's golden eyes that spoke of wisdom and benevolent curiosity. The dragon began to speak, but not in the harmonic tones it had used with its companions. Instead, words formed in Luna's mind, clear and precise as if someone was speaking directly into her thoughts. "You are different from the others who have come here," the mental voice said. It was deep and resonant, with an accent Luna had never heard before. They came with weapons and cages seeking to capture us like beasts. You came with food and respect, seeking to know us as people. Luna gasped in amazement. You can speak telepathically. I had no idea your species possessed such abilities. We possess many abilities that your Galactic Council has never bothered to learn about, the ancient dragon replied. They see only our physical forms and assume we are nothing more than dangerous animals. They have never tried to communicate with us. The colorful dragon moved closer, its blue and green scales shimmering in the volcanic light. My name is Azure, it said through the same mental connection. I am the keeper of our histories and the teacher of our young. The first dragon, the one who had initially found Luna, joined the mental conversation. I am called Solace. I am the guardian of our northern territories. It is my duty to protect our people from threats. And I am Ember, said the ancient dragon. I am the eldest of our community and the speaker for our people in important matters. We have been discussing what to do about you, Luna Martinez. Luna felt honored that they had shared their names with her. In many cultures, knowing someone's true name was a sign of deep trust and friendship. What have you decided? She asked. We have decided to show you something that no off-world visitor has ever seen, Ember replied. But first, we must know your true intentions. Are you here to capture us like the others? Or do you genuinely wish to understand our people? Luna considered the question carefully. She knew that her answer would determine whether these magnificent beings would trust her or consider her another threat to be eliminated. I came here because the Galactic Council asked me to, she said honestly. They want me to capture one of you and bring you back as proof that it can be done. But now that I have met you, I know that would be wrong. You are not animals to be captured. You are people with your own culture and civilization. The three dragons exchanged glances, their mental communications too rapid and complex for Luna to follow. After several minutes of discussion, Ember spoke again. You face a difficult choice, Luna Martinez. If you return to the council empty-handed, they will consider your mission a failure. They may send more hunting parties to our world, perhaps with even more destructive weapons. But if I help them capture one of you, I would be betraying the friendship you have shown me, Luna replied. I will not do that, no matter what the consequences. Then we will offer you a third option, Azure said, something that will satisfy the council's requirements while protecting our people and our world. What do you mean? Luna asked. Instead of answering immediately, the three dragons began to move away from each other, forming a triangle around Luna. Their scales began to glow with inner light, and the air around them shimmered like heat waves. We are going to show you our greatest secret, Solace explained. The ability that we have kept hidden from all outsiders. We can change our forms when we choose to do so. Luna watched in amazement as the three massive dragons began to shrink. Their scales restructured themselves, their limbs reformed, and their overall shapes shifted dramatically. The transformation was beautiful and graceful, like watching living sculpture reshape itself. Within minutes, three humanoid figures stood before Luna. They were taller than her, about 6 feet each, but perfectly proportioned for their new size. They retained many of their draconic features, scaled skin in their original colors, golden eyes, small horns on their foreheads, and pointed ears similar to Luna's own. This is our secondary form, Ember explained, his voice now coming from his mouth rather than directly into her mind. We developed this ability long ago as a way to interact with smaller species more easily. Azure smiled, an expression that looked both familiar and exotic on her scaled features. In this form, we can travel among the stars if we choose to. We can see other worlds and meet other peoples. But we have never revealed this ability to outsiders, Solace added. The galactic community sees us only as monsters to be feared or prizes to be captured. They do not know that we are people capable of friendship and cooperation. Luna looked at the three transformed dragons with growing excitement. This changes everything, she said. If the council knew you could take humanoid form, they would have to recognize you as an intelligent species. They could not justify hunting you like animals. Exactly. Ember nodded. But we need an ambassador, someone who can speak for us to the galactic community. Someone who has shown us respect and understanding. You want me to represent you to the council? Luna realized. More than that, Azure said. We want you to take us with you. We are curious about the wider galaxy, and we believe it is time for our people to make contact with other civilizations. Solace stepped forward. The three of us volunteer to accompany you back to the council. We will prove that shadow dragons are not monsters to be captured, but people to be befriended. Luna felt her heart racing with excitement. This was far better than anything she had hoped for when she accepted the mission. Instead of capturing dragons, she would be introducing them to galactic society as equals. The council expected me to return with captured beasts, she said. Instead, I will return with 3 ambassadors from an advanced civilization. And we will have accomplished something no previous expedition could manage, Ember pointed out. We will have achieved peaceful first contact between our species and the galactic community. The transformation had solved multiple problems at once. The dragons could leave their world safely, the council would get proof that the mission was successful, and a new era of cooperation could begin between species. The journey back to Galactic Council space took 4 days, but Luna had never enjoyed a hyperspace trip more. Her 3 dragon companions were endlessly curious about everything they saw and experienced. They asked thousands of questions about technology, other species, galactic politics, and human culture. Ember was fascinated by the ship's navigation systems and spent hours learning how hyperspace travel worked. Azure studied every piece of art and music in the ship's database, comparing it to dragon cultural expressions. Solace was most interested in defensive systems and wanted to understand how different species protected their worlds and people. Your species has accomplished something remarkable, Ember observed as they watched stars streak past the viewports. Humans have become leaders in the galactic community, despite having no natural weapons or defenses. You have succeeded through cooperation and diplomacy. Not always, Luna admitted. Humans have fought plenty of wars throughout our history, but we learned that making friends is usually more profitable than making enemies. That is a lesson our people learned long ago as well, Azure said. We could have conquered other worlds if we had chosen to do so. Our natural abilities make us formidable warriors, but we preferred to live peacefully on our own world. Until the hunting expeditions started coming, Solace added grimly. We defended ourselves because we had to, but we took no pleasure in it. Luna felt sad thinking about the council members and soldiers who had died in those failed expeditions. I wish there had been a way to prevent those conflicts. So many lives could have been saved if someone had just tried to talk to you first. Do not blame yourself, Ember said kindly. You cannot change the past, but you have given us hope for a better future. When they finally dropped out of hyperspace near Starbase Gamma, Luna sent a message to the council announcing her return. Within hours, the council chamber was packed with delegates eager to hear about her mission. Admiral Crick stood at the front of the room, his purple scales gleaming under the bright lights. Report, Miss Martinez. Did you succeed in capturing a shadow dragon? Luna stood up slowly, a small smile playing at the corners of her mouth. I did something better than that, Admiral. I made friends with them. The chamber erupted in confused murmurs. Admiral Crick's yellow eyes narrowed dangerously. Explain yourself. Where is the creature you were sent to capture? I would like you to meet 3 representatives of the Shadow Dragon civilization, Luna announced. They have come here voluntarily to establish diplomatic relations with the galactic community. The doors to the chamber opened, and Ember, Azure, and Solace walked in. Even in their humanoid forms, their draconic heritage was unmistakable. Their scaled skin gleamed, their golden eyes surveyed the room with obvious intelligence, and they moved with the grace and confidence of apex predators. The council chamber fell dead silent. Every delegate stared in shock at the 3 beings, who looked nothing like the savage monsters they had expected. Honorable members of the Galactic Council, Ember said, his deep voice carrying easily through the large chamber. I am Ember, eldest speaker for the Shadow Dragon people of Vorthak. These are my companions Azure and Solace. We come in peace to establish friendship between our peoples. Commander Zeta was the first to recover from his shock. This is impossible. Shadow dragons are mindless beasts. These must be some kind of shape-shifting aliens pretending to be dragons. Solace stepped forward and allowed his humanoid form to shimmer and expand. For just a moment, his true dragon shape filled a quarter of the chamber, scales gleaming like liquid darkness and golden eyes blazing with power. Then he returned to his smaller form and smiled at the stunned delegates. "We are exactly who we claim to be," he said calmly. "We have always possessed the ability to take different forms, but we chose not to reveal this to your hunting parties. They came with weapons and hostile intentions. We saw no reason to make ourselves vulnerable to such beings." Dr. Vex leaned forward, his tentacles quivering with excitement. "You can communicate. You have technology. You are a fully intelligent species." "We have been intelligent for thousands of years," Azure replied. "We have art, music, literature, philosophy, and advanced scientific knowledge. We simply chose to live quietly on our world rather than expanding across the galaxy like many other species." Admiral Crix looked like he was struggling to process this information. "If this is true, then our hunting expeditions were acts of war against a sovereign people." "They were," Ember acknowledged. "But we do not seek revenge or reparations. We understand that you acted out of ignorance rather than malice. Luna Martinez has shown us that not all galactic citizens are our enemies." Ambassador Theiss, who had first suggested sending Luna on this mission, stood up with obvious satisfaction. "This is exactly what I hoped would happen. Luna has accomplished something far more valuable than capturing a single dragon. She has opened the door to friendship with an entire civilization." Over the following days, the 3 dragon ambassadors met with scientists, diplomats, and cultural experts from across the galaxy. They shared knowledge about their advanced understanding of energy manipulation, showed examples of their art and literature, and discussed potential trade agreements and cultural exchanges. The revelation that shadow dragons were not monsters, but people sent shockwaves through the galactic community. Laws were quickly passed banning any further attempts to capture or harm dragons. Vorthak was officially recognized as the sovereign territory of the Shadow Dragon civilization. Luna found herself appointed as the first human ambassador to Vorthak, with Ember, Azure, and Solace serving as her counterparts representing dragon interests in galactic affairs. "You have given us something we never expected," Ember told Luna during a quiet moment between diplomatic meetings. "You have given us the stars. And you have given the galaxy something it desperately needed," Luna replied. "Proof that the greatest victories come not from conquest but from understanding." The failed hunting expeditions had cost lives and resources while accomplishing nothing. One small human with pointed ears and a willingness to make friends had succeeded where entire military forces had failed. The shadow dragons were no longer the galaxy's most feared monsters. They had become some of its most valued allies, all because someone finally thought to ask them nicely instead of trying to capture them by force.